Some runners peak early and burn out. Others stay strong for decades. What's the difference? My guest today is a legend of the South African trail scene, Kane Reilly, one of South Africa's most accomplished trail runners. He's competed internationally, won some of the country's biggest races, and today he's sharing what he's learned about staying in the sport for the long haul. Kane reflects on how to train smart and avoid burnout, the evolution of training and racing over time, lessons he's learned from years of competing at the highest level, and what it takes to enjoy trail running for a lifetime. If you love trail running and want to stay strong for years to come, this episode is for you. Kane, welcome to the Trail Chasers.
Thanks for having me.
So we want to talk about kind of your achievements and the lessons you've learned. But I think for me, the biggest thing is kind of that longevity in the sport. You know, obviously trail running, it feels like it's been around only for like a year or two because it's just been sudden, such a sudden interest. And I think you're kind of one of the names that have been around the block, should we say? Yeah.
Careful.
I want to start off with, when you're kind of on the start line of a race, what is that kind of feeling? What's going through your mind? How do you kind of get in the zone?
Yeah, well, I guess like every athlete or every runner has like a different approach and feeling towards races. For me personally, I love racing. Like there's no place I'd rather be than in the start of a start line or at a start line. So, I mean, regardless of what race it is, local, international, big race, small race, I love it. If I could race every weekend, I would race every weekend. So, I mean, really for me, when I'm at a start line, I'm just thinking like, let's go. It's kind of time where it's just you kind of like, there's no other distractions, like you're absolutely present and like in the moment, which I love. And also like it's a celebration of all your training, right? So I guess like almost it's like an artist like walking into a room and there's a blank canvas and you're like, cool, let me express myself and just be in the moment and enjoy it.
Yeah. And is it different for road and trail?
No. Well, I mean, the only potential difference, which is something that I actually try to carry across to trail running, right? I mean, for me, I think like racing is great training for racing. So when I race in a road race, I don't place as many expectations on myself. So it's more like, okay, let me just go out there and see what I can do. So I guess it's like more of an explorer's mindset than like going in with like, I want to run this time, I want to come this place. And like I've always avoided that and I will always avoid that from road running. Like I'll do training and maybe have an idea of what I can do, but I never want to put it down and never want to talk about it. Like I'm just going to go out and give my best. Yeah. So I mostly have that in trail. There are a few odd races here and then where you kind of get pulled back to the mindset of like, oh, like I really want to perform in this way or not perform that way. I try and avoid that. So sometimes with trail is a little bit more expectation, but I do my best to try and avoid that.
So this season is sponsored by Gilnockie socks. So I have these socks over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you for the 2 words that you'll have on the back of your sock, but you can think about it throughout the episode. Don't think about it too deeply. But
I can tell you right now if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Have fun.
Amazing. Absolutely love that. It's so important. So to start off with, what have in your mind, and you can take this kind of wherever you want to go, what have been the kind of the most pivotal moments, I guess, in your career, in your life that have kind of led you to this point?
I suppose it's like not one moment, but more my childhood. So like a collection of lots of moments. But, I grew up in Cape Town to two very kind of, let's call them sporty parents. My mom was a big runner. My dad was a big surfer and a bit of a runner. From an early age, like we were always in the outdoors. Like that's what we did whenever we could. So like tons of memories from being on the mountain, going to the beach and like running with my folks from an early age, like running with my dad in Newlands Forest, on the road with my mom. So I think like from an early age, an appreciation for the outdoors and a love for running were kind of like ingrained in me, like in my DNA. So I guess that was the biggest thing. And then, you know, going into school, getting into like athletics and cross country and road running, kind of growing my love for running. And yeah, I went to university and continued doing a lot of track and field, cross country. And I just kind of like went through a bit of a phase where I just wasn't as into it. And maybe first year varsity kind of coupled with that, you know, like being I was at Stellenbosch University, and there's a lot of fun things to do there aside from just running around a track. And then like at that time, I just got into a couple trail races and spending a little bit of time in the mountain. And that kind of like sparked, yeah, I mean, I was hooked immediately. So like I had this appreciation for the outdoors, love for running. But I mean, trail running has only really been a thing in Cape Town for, I mean, how many years? 10 years odd. So that's really when I got into trail. And that kind of took me on like an epic journey, like in terms of, you know, running, which I still see as like my passion and like my hobby, to my professional career, you know, running and working for Adidas. Yeah, there's been quite a few moments along the way, but I think like just growing up in a family that was into the outdoors.
Yeah. And, you know, you obviously wear quite a few different hats, but if you had a business card with your name on, what would it kind of say underneath?
Kane Reilly, running dude at Adidas, I suppose. Yeah, a few hats, which I love. Like, I think, like right now, like I'm genuinely like living my own dream in many ways, being able to pursue what I can do in the sport of running and still be involved from like a work perspective. Like those are two, like it's really, really privileged and happy to be there.
And in your mind, what has kind of been the kind of the key to being, you know, staying in the sport for so long, or staying long term, especially with all kind of the trends and the things that have changed?
I mean, I think like it does come down to a real like love for running. So I mean, if you told me I was never going to race again, I would still run every day, and I think I would still train properly because I love the process of training. So like fundamentally, like a real love for running. And then, you know, maybe it's also that I've never gone all in. So I've never been a fully professional trail runner or runner, and that been like my entire focus. I've always worked in the space too. So I maybe like diversifying like my involvement in the sport too could be something there. Yeah.
And, you know, looking back, is there one race or one kind of performance that stands out, you know, above everything else?
Sure. I mean, I think there's a couple. Yeah. You know, like I mean, my first otter trail I ran back in 2012. I mean, I came fourth or fifth, but it was my first marathon trail race. Yeah. Like I had no idea what I was in for, and was like pretty unprepared compared to what I know now. But what I got out of myself that day was massive. Yeah. I think I've had some like really good memorable runs on the Taipei Trail Challenge route. I don't know what it is. Like I think the route suits me, and I also love running at home. So things have clicked. Oh, I guess I ran Mont Blanc Marathon in 20, and that was definitely like my best international performance by a long shot. Yeah. Kind of like the kind of performance that I haven't managed to repeat, but hope to get back to at some point. Yeah.
And in terms of victories, you know, was there one that really, I guess, was memorable, really tough, you know, through the race that you came out of it and you were like, that was a goodie?
Nothing really. Yeah, like I can't really. No one race really stands out. I mean, I think one big thing is like it's cool to win races. I love winning races, but you know, winning a race doesn't make it any better than a race where I've come who knows what. Like for me, like I'll go into a race knowing what it means to win that race, to come fifth, to come 20th. And I more like judge myself on the performance I put in. Yeah. So I went and did SA Cross Country Champs 2 years ago. It was one of the best races of my life. I came 15th. Most of the trail running, you know, world would have no idea. and would also be like, oh, you came 15th, you know, like, is that good? But I know for me, that was like one of the best running performances I've had. So I think like it's most like the satisfaction that comes with running well, like it's mostly like an internal thing. And like, you know, me and my coach will know what it takes to do what in a race and more work it off that.
I'm glad you brought that up actually, because it is something I think I've picked up and I quite admire, you know, is that no matter where you come, you always seem like really happy and like really, you know, as you say, like from the outside, it's like, oh, you know, like it's, as you say, like 15th, but you know, you always seem like it's cool, job done. That was, you know, I went and got my best out of my performance and I'm happy with that.
I think like if you can be proud of, like if you can cross the finish line and be proud of the effort you gave, like both before the race and during the race, like that's a good feeling, right? I mean, ultimately in racing, like I want to be in races that are as competitive as I can find, like whether it's locally or globally. So, you know, whether that means like winning or coming 20th, but putting in the performance that you'll remember, like that's what's important to me. Yeah.
I love that. And, you know, you did touch a little bit on the sort of running in Hout Bay, and you seem to obviously, you know, have developed quite a reputation for being like the Cape Town, you know, the specialist, I would say. You know, whenever there's a race in Cape Town, you know, it's like local trails. What does that compare to like racing overseas, you know, in terms of familiarity, in terms of the courses, the toughness, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Table Mountain is pretty different to any other mountain I've been. I think when we really, you know, through our travels, we've experienced this, but I think what really drums it home is when we have international runners coming down for events like Ultra Trail Cape Town, and you go for a run in the mountain with them and they're just like, their eyes are wide open and they're like, wow, like this is super technical or so different. So, you know, the mountain and the terrain itself is very different. And then I think like, but the big differences for me, like the race environment, the runners you're racing against, like the depth of the field, you know, being in a unfamiliar place, even if you've been there a few times, you know, but it's still not home. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of challenges to racing overseas. For me personally, like my mindset, like I'm so motivated when I run at home as well. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I guess I'm quite proud to be from Cape Town.
Yeah.
And like if I'm racing on Table Mountain, like I really don't want anyone's. I really want to win. Like it's like I don't know what it is. Like I wouldn't say I'm the most competitive person in the world, and it's certainly not my mountain. But it's like, you know, like I live here, like I grew up here, so like I want to be the fastest person at the mountain. And if there's a finish line, like I want to get there first. It's like a different kind of feeling to me. So I definitely have been like, okay, well, how do I translate that to when I race overseas, where I'm also highly motivated, but the motivation is almost like a bit different. It's like here, it's like I'm a local wanting to be as involved as I can in this whole thing, versus overseas where it's like sometimes feels more like a performance thing. So there's some interesting kind of comparisons.
And has there been a moment in your career that's really tested you, you know, mentally, physically, you know, where it's kind of, shifted things for you?
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember what even year it was now. I think it was about 2014. I got diagnosed with autoimmune arthritis. And basically, like, both my ankles were very swollen for about 6 months. So I was out of running for half a year. Took about a year to be able to get back to start line and kind of be ready to go. So that was, I mean, I think the beginning of that period was quite challenging because, you know, I was also quite young, you know, like just out of varsity, and it was probably the most serious I was taking running. Like opportunities were like opening up. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then pretty much wake up one day and like that could be gone. Like the nature of the diagnosis is like a bit gray. It's like, okay, this is what you have. The timeline to recovery could be anything between like a few weeks to a couple of years. So at the beginning being like, okay, well, like I'm Kane the runner, like I have been for a while now, and now I'm not really at the moment. Like that, coming to terms with that, like having to redefine your identity a bit. That was a tricky part. But then once I kind of got into it, it was actually a good period in many ways, looking back. I think I gained a lot of perspective, as one does often when they, face challenges. And I also I learned a lot. I was just like, realized, often in life, there's things you can do and there's things you can't do, and you shouldn't really dwell on what you can't do. Be like, okay, well, this is what I can do. I'm going to enjoy it and make it rain where I can. So that was probably like the trickiest time of my running.
And has that made you kind of more resilient to injuries that you've kind of faced since then?
I think so. Fortunately, I don't have a long history with injuries, like long may it last. But look, what it did do is, I went properly cold turkey. I didn't run for like 6 months. So now if it's 2 days, 2 weeks without running, like I do kind of, sometimes it takes like a couple of days before you remember, like, no, it's fine. Like you can not run for a while and you'll be fine. There's other things you can do, like spend more time with family, whatever way you can train, go do that, just maximize on what you can do. So I think I learned how to deal with injuries and a fair amount better. But hopefully you don't have to use that tool too much. Yeah.
And, is there a race that's kind of pushed you to that physical, mental limit? And I suppose, was it a once-off, or is there kind of a race that continuously pushes that limit for you?
Yeah, I think the races that I've run really well in, like, often feel quite easy on the day. Like, sure, you get to a point where like it hurts and you're pushing through, but those races don't stand out to be the ones where I've like really, really had to dig deep. I think the ones where I've had to dig deep are the ones where it actually becomes about finishing. Yeah. So it's like you go in wanting to race and you have your like some ideas in your head in terms of like how your day should go, and then it doesn't turn out like that. And it changes to being like, well, fuck, now this is about survival and you got to get to the finish. I've had a CCC like that, which I'm like very proud of. I honestly can't remember where I finished and the time wasn't impressive, but at 50Ks, I was like, there's no way. It's like I can't get to the finish line. And many hours later, I got to the finish line. And so I think that CCC, the 1 year where it became about survival way too early, was probably when I've dug the deepest. Yeah.
And are those the races you kind of want to go back to, the next year, or continue going back, even though you've had to kind of struggle through it?
Definitely. I think, there's an appeal to both. Like, I love the races where like it just feels like you're in this like trance and you're just flying and like things are just going well and it's like, it's beautiful. But then there are the other races where like you have to work really hard and you remember them. So it's nice to have both.
We touched a little bit on the kind of injuries and you've been quite lucky with them. What do you think is the kind of the key to that, to kind of avoiding that burnout, or that, I think often people will go like, the previous interview that we had, someone was saying, like often people will go way too hard, for 3 years and then kind of that's it, done for them. So what do you kind of think you did in the beginning that helped you stay injury free, stay burnout free, stay, in the sport?
I think it's important not to force your training. So I don't want to try to sound too zen, because like it's not zen. There's plenty of science behind it, but I won't go into it. But I think like almost like letting the training come to you as opposed to forcing it too much. Like that both means from an absolute beginner's perspective, like starting slowly and progressing. Your initial workouts, whether it's the beginning of your running journey or, the first week back from any kind of break after Christmas holidays or whatever it is, like it mustn't look impressive on Strava. Like you can build into that. And then another part of like not forcing it is, I think, most people listening to this podcast have busy lives, and it's important to have a plan, like 100%, and it gives you like purpose, it gives you drive. But being too, like hell-bent and sticking to that, I think can be quite a dangerous thing. For me personally, if I'm trying to run at a high level, I have a job and I have 2 kids, but I've got a set plan. But if I wake up on a Tuesday and I'm supposed to do a track session, haven't slept well the night before, hectic work day, whatever it is, like I will make adjustments and I'll move the day to another day, or so yeah, basically just like there's time you need to put in a lot of effort in training, but it's not all the time. And I think you do kind of need to pick your moments and like balance all the stresses in your life so that you're not just like adding on. Like, there's times where I think you need to back off of training to allow for the rest of life stresses. And there's times you can be like, you know what, actually I can go quite big in this period. So I think like always looking at it as like a balancing equation, whereas you can't just look at training alone because there's so many other things that are impacting your life, like, and variables that you can't control. I think you do have to look at it holistically.
Yeah, I think it's quite admirable. And I mean, even look at like Cape Town Trail Marathon as an example last year, that you seem to have built up that kind of, I know that this is going to affect me kind of long term, so I'm going to pull it back, even though I really want to kind of go out and do this race. So I think that's, so important.
Yeah, and I mean, and I've done the Otter Cape Town Marathon, Trail Marathon double twice, 3 times. I've done it a couple times and it's always worked. Last year it didn't work. Again, like for the same athlete, like week on week is different, right? I mean, you're always going to feel different.
And is that kind of a feature of kind of looking at, kind of longevity, or kind of like, I want this to be, I still want to do this for like a number of years rather than focusing so much in the kind of present moment?
Yeah, I think like 100%. And, I'm also just like aware, like I wouldn't sacrifice 2 weeks of running for one day of running. Yeah. So certainly not like 6 months of running for one day. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll race and I'll push through a race to like pretty high degree of discomfort or whatever it is. But like if I feel like it's going to impact a lengthy period where I just want to be going out and running, like I'll consider that. Yeah.
And how's your training philosophy and training methods? How's that kind of evolved over the years?
I mean, interestingly, I think I've always had quite a similar training philosophy, to be honest. Look, I think like you'll find that for the most part, at least the training philosophy people settle on is one that fits their personality, right? You may go through a journey of like if you have different coaches or involved in different training setups where you try out a few, but I think often you'll land in something which is like, okay, if somebody knows you personally, they'll be like, I get it. I can see why they're training like that. So it's always been quite similar. I've recently started training with Run Project, James Montgomery. Well, not recently, for like the last few years. And that certainly gave more structure to it after having trained by myself for probably like 10 years almost, like since like high school through to that period. And so, I mean, we've done a lot of, like, it's super fun working with a coach because like we just kind of nerd out about training. Yeah. So we've done like lots of like research and we look into everything, like road running, track running, different sports, and kind of pull that into the way we train. So I guess like every year there's more thought that goes into exactly what I'm doing, but like the underlying like philosophy behind it has always been pretty similar. Like have a plan, don't force it, kind of let the training come to you. Is kind of.
What led to the kind of the decision to go with James, as opposed to, what was the point where you're like, I've taken this as far as I can, or yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I was kind of like, well, if I'm doing this, like, let me do it as properly as I can. Yeah. And it wasn't a case of where I was like, oh, geez, like I need a coach now. Let me go find a coach. I've been like friends with James for a long time. And, he was coaching and like we would often chat about things. I mean, maybe this is more than anything, is we would often talk about things. And it like became quite clear to me that we had like similar ideas as to how to go about things. And I was very interested in the things he was, advocating for or like reading. And then it kind of just like naturally happened. I was like, well, I want to be a part of this. Yeah. And I love the training process. Yeah. Like it's a big part of what I enjoy in the sports and will probably keep in the sport for a long time. Yeah. So to have somebody to work on that with and to implement it is a win.
Yeah. I suppose it can be a bit of a lonely process, like especially at your level of the sport as well.
Yeah, I think so. And look, also just being able to wake up. I mean, my one concern about getting a coach was like losing freedom. I was like, will that impact like how much I enjoy running? And I actually found it to be the opposite. Because then I'm like, I wake up and I know what I'm doing in the day, in training wise, and you just go and do it. And because I enjoy all kinds of running, whether it's a track session or long run in the mountain, it doesn't really matter what it is. So like taking away the thought and the potential anxiety from being like, am I doing the right thing? That just opened it up to be like, okay, well, you can just enjoy it more.
Yeah. And, in terms of advice for beginners, would you say the coaching route is kind of the best way to go when you're kind of starting out, or is it kind of, not in the beginning?
I think going back to like individual's personality, I think it really depends on the person. I think some people can really benefit from the guidance. Then you have some people who like love to consume knowledge, and maybe it's like, okay, well, like you could also do it yourself. Like you can read things, you can listen to things, you can come up with your own plan. And then there's other people who are like, I actually just want to do things loosely. So I think it depends on the kind of person you are. I do like firmly believe that everyone from the beginner to the top elite like needs to keep remembering not to take things too seriously. I do think like I've been in the sport for, as you said, like a long time now. It's actually crazy if I think about it, because I still feel pretty young in the sport, but you're actually not. Like you've been around for like over a decade. But yeah, the one thing about that comes with the growth of the sport is like how seriously a lot of people take it. And it's interesting because like when you sit here and you've spoken to a lot of like high performing athletes, and I spend time with a lot of high performing athletes, and a lot of them take it way less seriously than a lot of like beginners or mid-level athletes or age groupers. And I just, I mean, my one big piece of advice is like, don't take it too seriously and like, don't force it. Yeah,
I think that is a big thing with the kind of high performing athletes, is that not forcing it, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't,
Exactly. So I mean, that's like the one potential negative that could come with a coach. Although like a lot of our coaches are such good people and will really guard against that. But like, I mean, ultimately, like, come on, man. Like if you're not feeding your family through your running, like have fun with it. Like, it's good to have goals. It gives you drive. I think that's positive for your whole life. But like if you're losing the fun because of how seriously you're taking it, and you're not winning Western States, then you should take a step back. Yeah.
And in terms of like weekly, monthly volume and mileage, is it a focus, or is it more, like an hourly or a kind of,
so it's not a focus at all. Like I'm just like a big believer in like, I don't know how your body knows whether you ran 120 or 130 Ks in the week. Like doesn't know what Strava says. I will kind of focus on the key sessions that I need to do in a week, and potentially like month up to the race, get those in, and then build around it. And then whatever like the mileage is that pops up is more of like a byproduct of that.
And how specific is your training, based on races and things like that?
It depends what time of the year. So I mean, I guess like a lot of runners, like the beginning of the year often tends to be quite general training, and then closer to goal races it becomes more specific.
And I've noticed you've obviously taken a bit of a roadblock at the beginning of the year. Is that a recent thing, or has that always been your kind of process?
So it's like roadblocks quite in vogue, like the word, like I almost like, I feel like, I don't know, like I like identify as a runner as opposed to a trail runner. Like I've always done all the kinds of running, like from like a little age, and I've always been a huge fan of all the running. Like, I mean, if there's a track and field event on TV and a trail run on TV, like I'm going to be like split screening, or like I'll struggle to choose which to watch. But it was there was quite a big gap where I was just focused on trail running. I think like my early years, it was all cross country, road, more traditional types of running. And then I was like totally hooked on trail, only did that for about 10 years. And then kind of started to slowly introduce a bit of road and cross country back here and there where it kind of fitted my schedule. And I guess that's kind of where it is now. I also like to do what kind of makes sense for me. So like at the beginning of this year, I've just had a second kid towards the end of last year. I plan to be quite local for a little while. Road running is both like time friendly because you can do a lot of good training without, too many hours away from home. And also there's like an amazing race almost like every weekend in Cape Town, which is a very high level of competition. So it's just like, I can close to home, get into really good races against like strong athletes, which is a win. So, and yeah, it does have good, I think like the crossover to trail running, the benefits is really strong. So that's a bonus, but it's really more just because I enjoy to do everything.
Yeah. And do you have a favorite local and international race? Or is it every year is different?
I couldn't even know if I could pick out a favorite here. I love racing in Cape Town. So like almost anything in Cape Town.
Road, trail, anything.
And otter. And then overseas, I mean, I've raced at UTMB Chamonix a lot. And like, it's a race I'll continue to go back to, certainly until like I crack it. It's just such a spectacle. Like, I mean, the trails are like amazing. Like the route is just really, really great. And being in Chamonix is amazing. And then just like the spectacle of all the people and the media and everything is a cool thing to be around. As is Bat Run in Cape Town, where there's like hardly anyone and it's like run up and down 3 peaks and you're done. So I like a lot of races for different reasons, whether it's because they're like local, very community orientated, or because they're like the biggest races in the world. So, yeah.
And when it comes to, setting your calendar or your kind of year structure, are there races that you like earmark? I'm always going back to that, or is it every year you want to try new kind of races? Or
I think a bit of both. Like as long as I can go back to Otter every year, like until I stop getting invited, then then I'll keep going. Like I'll always make it work because I just love that route. I love that event. I love the people. And other than that, often, and I mean UTCT, I'll always be there in some way or form because of my more like work roles. I've often been involved from a work perspective, which I also love, but I hope to be able to race it properly at some point. And then otherwise, it's more just kind of like looking at my year holistically, like where family's at, where work's at, and then what I'm interested in. So I very much go by interest. I mean, I had a couple of years where I had 100-kilometer races in my plan. And that's because at the time I was like interested in that journey towards kind of running ultras. At the moment, I'm more interested in the kind of sub-ultra space, which is what I'm focusing on. So like going by interest, life plans, and then, always being present at Otter and UTCT. Yeah.
I want to touch on Otter, but I just want to go to the kind of the distance thing. Do you feel that you have a distance that suits you the best, or is it, like it's just a matter of training and putting in the work type thing and you can do any distance?
10 Ks from any finish line is my ideal distance. I think it probably sits between 20 and 40 Ks. I think like the shorter hard efforts are where my physiology is best suited to, but I'm also intrigued by ultras. So I would say like, marathon and under is probably my sweet spot in terms of what I'm best at right now. And I'm happy to be focusing that at the moment. And I really want to see like how far I can go in that space. And then I look forward to dabbling in ultras again because I also love spending the whole day in the mountain.
Yeah, I think that's a good space for you as well. Like from what I've seen, it does seem like the speed is your thing. So let's go back to Otter. What is the appeal? I mean, obviously it was your first race. Is that an element of it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, it just feels like it's been a big part. Otter's been a big part of my like evolution as a trail runner and person in a way, I guess. Yeah.
And what is that experience like every year? Do you kind of learn? Is there constant improvement, or is it kind of every year it just throws at you something completely different?
Like a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, I guess I kind of see it as like this annual occasion. It's like a check-in. It's like Christmas, maybe Christmas, because like family and like everyone's together. And you go and it's almost like I'll look back at it and I'll be like, okay, I remember Otter and I remember, and that year was like that because that's the way the year was, for me personally. So there's that part, which is like very special. And I mean, what the things I really like, really like about it is like the route and the place. I've also we've had our holiday house in Wilderness on the garden route. So the garden route's always also felt like a second home to me. So I feel very at home at Otter. And then like it's always been the pinnacle marathon race in South Africa. So like the level of competition, still now, but particularly back in the day when there was only like 3 or 4 trail races in the country in a calendar year, and like Otter was one of them. So like everyone was there. It was like a very exciting, like, you know, prospect. And then like the people, like again, like if you go back somewhere every year, I guess you really get to know the people, but it's a special little community.
Yeah. And how much is that like the motivation to finally like, you know, crack it? And
yeah, it's huge. Yeah. Like I've had to like work on being like, that pressure, which I feel like I put the pressure on myself, but it's because I'm like, oh, like I really care about all these people and like they want me to win. So I'm like, that pressure has got into me, and you're like, oh no, you have to win this race. Like you've done this race so many times. Like how can you not win it? And then I guess I didn't win it a few more times. Yeah. And then every year I'm like, well, people like, they're not like, oh, Kane, like we don't like you anymore because like you didn't win the race. So like we like this person because he won the race or she won the race. So I guess I realized I was like, well, they want me to win the race because they care about me and they believe I want to win the race, which is true. But it's also like, I'm fine if I don't win the race. Like I really hope I do, and I'll continue to try. Yeah. But if I never do and I can continue going back and having good experiences, that's also fine.
And, you know, I think the kind of important things for, you know, the beginners, I guess, often overlook is kind of the other things that are not running that play such a big role. You know, so in terms of your nutrition, you know, how's that evolved for you? And, you know, like, do you feel like you've nailed that, you know, and yeah.
No, I mean, certainly not in the race format. And like, that's one of the beauties of the sport, right? Is I think it's still new enough that people are all still figuring it out. Like even the best in the world. Like, I mean, you chat to Ryan and like before every race, he's learned a bit more and he's got a slightly different approach to nutrition. Yeah. And I'm certainly still in that journey. It's not one of my strong points. Firstly, organizing nutrition for an ultra. I'm a fan of just like picking up a gel for a 20K and just going. And also, you know, like my mate, like Daniel Claessen's got the stomach of like, yes, he can just eat anything. So I'm not there. So nutrition, like actual in-race nutrition is something I need to work on. And then outside of it, you know, I think I've always had the approach where I'm like, the more work I'm doing, like the more I need to eat. And I think I eat a fair amount. And I think it's awesome that like that's where the general thought is now. Yeah. You know, whereas back in the day, I don't think there was a huge focus on like needing to eat too much. And then in a race, it was like how little you could get away with eating. Yeah. You know, the days where like Anton Krupicka and like split shorts carrying one gel, like that was what people saw as like the coolest thing to do. And now it's like how many grams of carbs you can get in, like the more you can get in, the cooler you are. Yeah. So I think it's very positive, this like revolution in terms of like the more you can eat around training, the more you can eat in racing, the better. And like the results speak for themselves. Like, I mean, you know, there's lots of things that go into it, footwear technology, etc. But like definitely a change in the way people view nutrition has been a big shift. Yeah.
And are you more kind of gels and bars and stuff, or whole foods, or is it kind of very race dependent?
Race dependent. So I mean, for anything like under 6 hours, mostly like liquid calories and gels, and maybe like the odd bar. So that's where like marathon and under like a bit easier, because it's pretty easy to kind of balance that equation of like how many carbs you want per hour. This is what you get through your bottles, through your gels. And then the longer stuff, like look to introduce some whole foods.
And, you know, talking about kind of cross training and strength training, how has that evolved for you?
So I've also like my time with autoimmune arthritis was quite pivotal in like creating or building a relationship with strength work, and then kind of, you know, getting me to like build it into my routine going forward, because I couldn't run, but I could do a fair amount in the gym. Yeah. So I did do that. And I came out of that block as a better runner, which I was like, geez, like this is pretty crazy in a way. And since then, I've like really, you know, understood and felt the benefits, both in terms of injury prevention and performance. But I think just the biggest thing is like, the ultimate is being consistent in training, right? Like if you can be consistent in training for extended period of time, like there's nothing better than that. And I think strength work goes a long way in doing that.
And then in terms of gear, obviously you've recently moved over to Adidas. How's that kind of evolved for you in the, since you started?
Yeah, so it's been super cool there. I think access to a wide range of footwear has been awesome, from trail running gear all the way through to like road running footwear. And I'm a shoe geek for sure, so I really enjoy like playing around with different products. Adidas, like on the road, has always had like the best product, and Terrex being a little bit newer but like very into innovation and being like, okay, we may be a bit behind in terms of years we've been in the game from other brands, but like we're going to come at it from like an all-in approach, like really work with athletes, like work with the best product developers and come up with product that's like, we're not doing it because we did it before, we're doing it because this is the best product you can put out there. So yeah, I've really been loving the product since moving to Terrex.
Yeah. What excites you about working with them?
I think Terrex is like the new approach to outdoor sports. Yeah. Like I find it's like refreshing and very exciting. I love the team element of the one team, which, like when I was on the outside looking in, you're like, oh, this is really cool, but like how legit is it? Yeah. And then being in the inside, you're like, wow, like there really is a team environment. And although largely still an individual sport, ultimately, that system and that approach it really works and it's legit. And then, the Adidas brand in a whole, like there's just, there's so much exciting things from outdoor sports to the culture side of things. I think, being involved in like the Adidas ecosystem has just like opened my eyes and exposed me to like lots of different exciting worlds. And I like to be, it's like, again, like a bit of an holistic person. So it's nice to have like, open eyes to everything that's going on.
Yeah. And how have you kind of built up that tell, I guess, of when you're training or when you're racing and it's, the burnout is coming, or it's like, you need to back off?
I mean, for me, it's by feel, to be honest. So I've never really been into like tracking HRV or heart rates or anything like that. So I mean, the basic is just how you feel like every day, like just in general. The others, like how the training's going. Like if you feel average for a session, it could be because of like something that's happening around you. If you're average for a week, like it's probably a sign. And the answer is like pretty much never train harder, I think. So yeah, I think going by feel. So again, like I track training. I use heart rates a lot in training, which I think is useful to really develop like a good sense of feel, because you can kind of be like, I felt like this is my heart rate. There's a correlation there. So I do follow all of that. I can look back at my training and see exactly how I felt. So like I do go into like the science and the stats of it, but a lot of it, particularly when deciding whether things are too much or too little, is by like just purely by feel. Yeah.
And how do you kind of maintain the balance between, I think you've been quite open about the family element, how do you kind of maintain that balance?
I have a supportive wife, one. I mean, that's legit. Yeah. But I think that like the main part is that I really care about everything have going in my life. So like I really care about my family. I really care about my work, and I really care about my running. I really want to devote time to all of them. And then it's really about just working out like how you split up that time and energy, right? And I think with training, there's like always a way to do it. And everyone has different constraints, like whatever your working hours are, I mean, whatever it is. But you can plan your training according to those constraints. And I find it actually quite a fun activity to do. Yeah. And I mean, I always like take a lot of inspiration from like the great amateur athletes from back in the day. When you like Roger Bannister ran a sub 4 minute mile, like on terrible tracks with like shoes that are like, I couldn't even walk to the fridge in. Yeah. And he was like a medical student they train like an hour a day, and it's amazing. So I think it's like if you're just creative in your training, it's like, it's totally doable, and you care about everything you're doing. Yeah.
And what is it that kind of keeps you coming back, that keeps that fire burning year after year?
The biggest thing is again, just love for running. Like I never ran this morning because my hamstrings are like toast. And I woke up and I was like, there was like a void, you know, like I just want to go for a run because that's what I do. I wake up and go for a run. Yeah. So it's never really like a question. Maybe the day I wake up and don't feel like going for a run, then it'll be like, oh, well, am I going to do this again this year? But every day I want to wake up and run, and I love the training process. Yeah. And then it's like, and I love to race because I just genuinely enjoy all those things. Like I can see myself being in the game for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. That loving of the process is so important. You know, has your definition of success changed, you know, not only in the kind of competitive race sense, but also in your kind of general life, you know, over the years, kind of how that's evolved?
I think so, to a degree. I've never been like overwhelmingly performance orientated or like accolades orientated, should I say, but probably a little bit more so than I am now. And I guess like now, like a big part of what I'll judge myself on if I ever do hang up in my shoes is like more, I don't know, like the impact I could kind of have, like whether it's through like the way I ran or through other ways that I could give back kind of to the sport. So I guess like I certainly don't judge myself on like whether I won otter or not or ran a sub 4 hour otter. Those would be great. Like if I could add those to like my CV of things I've done when I do decide to just surf more and run less. But I think it's more kind of like what I've been able to contribute as a whole in the sport that I would judge myself on if I was to judge myself in anything.
Yeah. You know, if you're looking at people that are kind of starting out and, you know, as we said, like with all this pressure and all the, you know, the need to kind of do big distances, what is the advice you'd give to someone, you know, for like longevity or like, you know, being able to run for the next, say, like 20, 30 years?
Yeah, I think like try not to lose the fun of it. Yeah. And that doesn't mean you can't be serious about your training and get to the start line and want to win. Like, I mean, I really do enjoy my running, but when I'm on a start line, like I want to win like really badly. And I think that is the case for a lot of like high performing athletes. So I think that's like something to take, you know, inspiration from. And don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take the sport too seriously. Don't force it. Learn a lot. Consume knowledge. Like, don't just train because someone's telling you to do it. Like, you know, that's fine and well. But if you understand why you're doing something, I think there's a lot more buy-in. So educate yourself. Yeah, I mean, just like, and whether it's looking at your 30-year career in the sport or the race you're about to start, like try take the explorer mindset if you can. Yeah. Be like, cool, like we're going on a journey. Let's just see what happens.
You did mention a little bit about like when you kind of hang up your shoes or things like that. So short, medium, long term, you know, do you kind of look at things like that? And, you know, are you kind of looking at long-term bucket list? What is on that kind of list?
Not so much. Like I definitely never set like 1, 5 and 10 year plan. Yeah. Again, that's not my personality. So for some people I know like that will be their personality running wise, but I have things I'd like to do in the sport. Yeah. Like I would love to really maximize on what I believe to be my potential in the marathon and under distance. Yeah. Whatever that is, I don't know. If that impresses other people, I don't know either. But I have a feeling I know what I can do and I'd like to try and get there. I would like to run races like UTMB, you know, the 100 miler one day. It's more because I'd love to do that race and be like, oh, one day I'm going to get into ultras. It's like that. Yeah. That also interests me, as does trying to run a sub 30-minute 10K in the near future. So I guess there's like a few things that would interest me. At the moment, running 100 miles doesn't really suit my lifestyle, and that's fine because there's other things I'm as interested in doing right now. So not really a 10-year plan. But look, I imagine for the next while it'll be more shorter stuff and then probably slowly get a little bit longer. Yeah, but who knows? I really do go by kind of what I'm passionate about at the time.
And your work with Adidas, what is the goals there? What is that looking like?
Yeah, I mean, I would I would love to be involved with the brand for a long time to come. I still feel relatively new there, and it's been like a very exciting world to be a part of. And I get to work in a space that I'm so passionate about, which is running, from track and field, road running, outdoors. I really want to grow in that space. You know, so you asked me what my running plans are. It like that needs to work congruently with like kind of what my work aspirations are too. But yeah, I'd love to continue working there for a long time and having an impact on these spaces that I'm like so passionate about and grateful to be able to work in.
And coach.
Like I'd love to coach in a way, but also I don't think I have the time at the moment, nor may I ever have the time to do it properly. I'd certainly, if I did it, I'd take it very seriously because it is like not serious, like, but like, you know, the coach relationship and the impact a coach can have on an athlete is so big. It's like, it's not something to be taken lightly. So, I mean, maybe one day, but at the moment, it's just not something I can put enough time or effort into. Yeah.
And is there any kind of specific moment in looking back in your career that it was like, this is why I'm running, this is why I do it? You know, was it kind of a collection of memories?
I don't think so. I think, again, like just waking up wanting to go for a run and then like doing that and then being quite good at it. And then that opened up some opportunity. And then through relationships I've forged through running, that opened up other opportunities. And then I sit here today, like working and running for Adidas. And it already comes down to however many years ago I went for a run and I enjoyed doing that. And it just kind of kept building. So there's no like pivotal moment where I was like, oh no, this is what I want to do. It kind of just evolved slowly. Yeah.
What does it mean to be like an influential kind of figure in South African trail running?
I haven't really thought too much about it.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Yeah, I certainly do think so to a degree.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like, you know, the impact that all the guys on like myself when I was getting into the sport had, and if I can have a positive impact on new people in the sport, older people in the sport, yeah, I mean, I'd be very happy about that.
If you could go back, I guess, to the start of your trail running career, you know, what is the kind of advice you would give to your younger self?
I wouldn't do things too differently. You know, like maybe at times there was a phase I would have said like, you know what, just go a bit bigger with training. Like actually, you know, just try and like, I know you really like just love running and it's always about the results, but maybe just push like a little bit harder. And maybe that's also what got me to, one of the things that got me to work with a coach was like, actually, you know what, like I love doing this and if I don't win, it's fine, but like, let me try and win. So maybe at one stage it would have been like, listen, dude, like also like at one point, like you're going to get older, there are going to be more things. So like just go big when there's opportunities to go big.
Yeah. And, you know, looking forward to this year, do you have a calendar for the year set out, or is it, you know, still very much month by month? See how it comes.
Not quite month to month. It's still evolving to a degree. So again, like every year it's like Otter and UTCT are like penciled in. Again, would like to get to UTCT healthy and ready to go. 55, 35, probably 55. Yeah. I'll typically try and fill my year with like a lot of races because I do really enjoy racing. So whether it's like Fisherman's Trail Challenge, whatever it is that can fit into the rest of my life, I will throw that in.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the nice thing with trail running is, you know, you can fit in those races and learn from them, you know, without kind of, you know, absolutely like pushing yourself to the limit every single time. You know?
Yeah, I think like, I mean, in comparison to say road marathon running, also like you know, because there isn't so much emphasis on like time, etc. It's kind of like you can go and run and enjoy yourself without it being like such an intense moment so many times.
Is that also part of the appeal of kind of coming down to kind of the marathon distance as well?
Frequency of racing. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I like to, I mean, like if Fisherman's happens and I'm not running and I'm at home, like doing what? I'm like, well, I really want to be on the start line. So it is definitely part of what appeals to me with short racing.
Yeah. Especially like Fisherman's, it's like, well, I'm going to go do my long run there anyway. So
it's like 10 minutes from home. Like why not go and do it? And you're like run with cool people. So I mean, there's a lot on the calendar nowadays, which is cool. I mean, as I said, like again, like 10 years ago, there was like 4 races in the whole country. Now there's like 4 races in the Western Cape on a weekend. Yeah.
And, you know, they often say, like, to be competitive in Europe, you kind of have to live over there. So is there any kind of consideration there, or is it, you know, like, obviously your life is here, but, you know, in terms of racing and things like that?
Like, only if all the stars aligned and there was like a really good opportunity for myself and my family, would I consider going overseas. So it's definitely not like a plan, but if it was to pop up, like, you know, again, like, I think we both have a bit of an explorer mindset, would certainly look into it. But no, I do really love living in Cape Town, and that would kind of be the plan for a very long time. It is tricky, I think, to compete overseas living in Cape Town, but I really don't think it's impossible. I think it's totally doable. I think sometimes we overplay it, how difficult it is, and I think we need to stop doing that, myself included. I'm totally guilty. Like, if I was on this podcast 3 years ago, I probably would have made a big thing about it. But it's probably better in some ways, in many ways, to be living there. It's probably better to be living here for some ways. And in the end of the day, like I said, like, the constraints you have are the constraints you have. And you need to work with them. There's a lot of people out there doing amazing things to kind of overcome much greater challenges than having to run in Table Mountain as a training ground for running in Chamonix.
Living in Joburg.
You could be living in Joburg. Then you have altitude. Yeah, so I think, look, I do think the ideal case is probably to be, well, maybe if you can go all in there and have a good lifestyle, and like, which is also really tough. You know, like, let's not forget, like, Tony's living in the Alps now, and like, people may see that as easy in many ways, but the journey there is, like, you know, crazy challenging, and she's done an amazing job at like being all in, like both feet in this literally in the snow now. But I think probably the second best choice would be here, and then spending like a little bit of longer periods of times there around races. So that would be the plan in the future when life allows it. Yeah. Amazing. Well, good luck for the year. Thank you very much.
And thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, pleasure.
Last question is, we still going with have fun on the socks?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for me, like, when it comes to running, like, that's certainly my underlying kind of mantra.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you so much.